Hola, ¿cómo estás? Viva la
Buenas
Mex.
noches.
How you doing, my man?
I'm doing very well.
This
Yeah.
is the Spanish version of the Shillin and Duffy Show live recap show for UFC Mexico. Moreno versus Erceg. I said this was the Spanish version because that's about as far as my Spanish went. So I did every single word in my vocabulary, other than maybe Dora the Explorer. Ben, and it's actually been a while since me and you've done a recap show.
I know. Like, between not doing a recap show together for several weeks and then not doing the preview together this past week, I feel like I barely know you, man. How you been?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up because we'll get to know your guests, know your host later. As I didn't even prep you a question. I just thought of it right now on the spot. So
Outstanding.
let's get right into it. We have 12 fights. We lost probably one of the biggest, probably the fight that I thought should have been the co-main event. I don't know where it was actually on the card, but former UFC interim title challenger Kelvin Gastelum and Joe Pyfer, Dana White's favorite fighter, that got canceled last minute as Joe Pyfer got sick. But we still had 12 fights. I thought it was a really fun card, packed crowd in Mexico. In the main event, we had Mexico's native son, their favorite fighter, former flyweight champion, multi-time flyweight champion, Brandon Moreno, take on former flyweight title challenger, Steve Erceg, with Brandon Moreno winning a unanimous decision. I thought both guys looked really good.
I really enjoyed the fight. Like, I thought,
Same.
yeah, I thought both guys looked good for the most part. I was a little frustrated in the middle rounds because it felt as though Brandon Moreno was doing his best John Jones impression. Like, we've talked before about how, especially when he was in the midst of his just unbelievable title reign, Jones would seemingly sometimes go at his opponents at their best strength, just almost as if to prove something to himself. Like, I watched this, fight, and I'm going, all right, Steve Erceg is a fantastic boxer. It's definitely his best component skill in MMA, where Moreno is an outstanding boxer, but he's also a great wrestler and grappler. He's also a great kicker. And it seemed to take him a long time to really start mixing his martial arts. It was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, like he didn't look for wrestling and to the very end. He didn't kick as much. So yeah, I'll say it was a very technical kickboxing match for most of it, and I definitely enjoyed that. I think so. Let me ask you this: what was your scorecard? And we'll throw it in the chat. I want everybody to know. I want to know what everybody's scorecard was, and shout out to everybody in the chat. I apologize I didn't get to you guys right away. Yeah. But yeah, give us your scorecards. We'll try to read out as many as possible as we can on the show.
Yeah.
What'd you score the fight?
I scored it 48-47 Moreno. I gave Erceg rounds 2 and 3.
So you had it going into the 5th round, like undecided. Whoever wins this one,
undecided.
Yeah. Okay. I had a little bit bigger of a gap. I had it 4-1, so I had it 49-46 for Moreno. You said you gave 2 and 3 to Erceg.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I gave Moreno 2. I gave Erceg round 3, and then I had 4 and 5 for Moreno. I feel like the 1st and 5th were the clear cut rounds.
Yeah,
I gave that I gave those clearly to Moreno. I feel like rounds 2, 3, and 4 were all really close.
Yeah,
I think there is an argument for Erceg to win if you give him all 3 of those really close rounds. I think it's a hard argument to make because you really have, I kind of think of it just like percentages. Well, heads or tails for 3, 3 rounds in a row, and I take heads and I give you tails. Like, is there a chance you flip tails 3 times in a row? Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
But every single time you flip it, the chance of it landing on heads goes up. So, I felt like Erceg, because of that, he was real. Yeah, you're in enemy territory. Obviously, every time you land a punch, the crowd is going to go, not going to cheer that much. Every time Moreno lands something, they're going to go crazy. The way the commentators were making the sounds, making the round sound like it was like Erceg was getting smoked. And I was like, this is a really close rounds.
Yeah.
But then I started sitting there. I go, they're in the arena. They're standing. They got one angle, and like maybe, and this happens. Maybe, and I've heard people say it many times. Fights look different in arena than it does on TV.
Yes.
Based on how everyone reacts and everything. So I said, oh, maybe Moreno is looking better. He's landing harder. He definitely was landing the harder punches. But I think that I thought that even though I had it 49-46 and you had it closer, the fight overall was much closer.
Oh, and if I watched it again, I could go either way on that second round. That was probably the closest round the whole fight to me. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But so, I thought the 3 minute rounds were really close.
Yeah, I'm not mad at 49-46 at all. In fact, I'm looking at MMA decisions right now, and let's see, 4-8. There were 12 that scored it 49-46 Moreno, including you. Yep. There were 4 who scored it 48-47 Moreno, including me. So the majority of media observers sided with you on this one, but yeah, like all within those, yeah.
Yeah, like with super close. I'm sure we could talk. Anybody in my group, I think you could argue, they would consider going 48-47. And then I think anybody in your group would easily consider going 49-46. So I don't think anybody would be like, no, this was clearly how all the rounds were 3-2 or 4-1 or something like that. I think the big difference, if I want to like summarize the entire fight into like small things, Moreno had the big moments. Erceg never had a big moment. Like I can't think of one like, oh, that was a great moment for Erceg.
No, it was with Erceg in all 3 of the middle rounds. It was more like, okay, 90 seconds in, I'm like, man, Erceg's doing really well here. Like, is he winning this round? It's more like that, not like, oh, yeah. I completely agree.
Let's talk about what, like I said, I thought both guys looked good. You mentioned things you didn't like, particular that Moreno did. So let's do this. Let's talk about the positives. I'll tell you some things that I liked. Or actually, I'll let you go first. Tell me some things you liked about Moreno.
After complaining that he leaned on his boxing too much, I thought his boxing looked fantastic. He
totally agree.
Just everything from sticking with what got him here. Like he has one of the best jabs in all of MMA, leaning on that first and foremost, even against a guy with better reach and good hand speed like Erceg. I liked him finding ways to get the jab working. I don't know how effective it was, but I liked the pseudo Philly shell he kept flashing kind of from the second round on. He would kind of go there for a second. Like, again, I don't know. I don't think it's a terribly effective way to approach MMA boxing, but just throwing it in as an alternate look, I thought was really interesting. And then, yeah, like once he started mixing in the kicks a little more after about, the beginning of the third round and then finally started grappling, it just became obvious to me that all in all, he's a better fighter. It just, he made it more closer and more interesting than it needed to be.
Yeah. So, it reminded me, I was at softball today. My daughter's, high school started today and there was a big tournament. There was a bunch of teams there. So it was kind of cool. I could see some familiar faces I haven't seen and, since the off season. And I was talking about this one pitcher. She's a senior. She's fantastic. I don't want to give too many details because, a guy was talking about how well she is. And this girl, I mean, she's powerful. She throws heat. Like she throws freaking heat. And the guy who was saying, and he's way more into this, yeah, he knows the upperclassmen better than I do because my daughter's only a freshman. And he was talking about, oh yeah, she's committed to D1 and she's going to do really well. But the problem is she doesn't have a lot of off-speed stuff. She's all high speed, and at that level, you got to change it up. Moreno was that. He was changing all his attacks up. And that's what really stood out to me. It wasn't just a jab, or it wasn't just those big looping overhand rights. Man, he was cutting different angles. He was his variety of his attacks was so different. He'd go low, he'd go high, he'd go jab, he'd go hook. His speeds he was throwing. Like he'd go like jab, hook, jab, body, kind of getting them guessing where they're going. But then also, then he'd go like, instead of throwing jab, hook, he'd come jab, slip, uppercut. Like he was just always changing up everything he was doing. I like that he'd go dig to the body, then follow up the next one. He's going high. Kind of really had Erceg going. He'd blitz. Those times he'd sit back and try to counter and wait for Erceg to come in. And the next time Erceg he'd come back, he'd slip and counter one. And then Erceg would come back, thinking, Moreno's going to come back with one counter. Instead of one punch, he's blitzing at him. So now he's throwing 4 or 5 punches as he's trying to escape. I was just like, man, Brandon Moreno, technically, like I said this before, Brandon Moreno is one of my favorite people to break down technically. And I think when I look back at his next fight, I really dig into this one more. I'm going to really enjoy it. Let's talk about bad stuff. You talked about fighting to his strengths. Anything else really?
That's really it. I thought tactically it was an outstanding performance. Like all the component parts of his mixed martial arts skill set looked great. I have top level strategic questions like,
sure.
Why did he approach the whole fight the way he did? But you know what? I don't want to get too critical with it because this was a crucial fight for both guys, and he won unanimously. Like,
yeah, what I was surprised, which you don't see a lot, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to start as a negative, and then it's going to turn into a positive. What he did early in the fight, he was pillaring, and it was his best round. But I was like, I hate pillaring defense. He did that against Brandon Royval, and I'm like, oh man, that's not going to be good. And then the second round, he comes out and he starts Philly shelling, and I'm like, oh wow, he's completely going complete opposite of pillaring. And then the third, fourth, and fifth, now he's really bob and weave and bounce his head off the center line. I'm like, dude, he had 3 different type of defenses in a fight. So negative on the pillaring, but positive on like having Erceg not knowing what kind of defense he was going to come at. I just echo what you said. I didn't like that he didn't wrestle enough. I think just the threat of wrestling would open up his hands, and then he didn't kick enough. Oh, so all right. So what pillaring defense is? Yeah, it's the old. Think about I always think the perfect example of pillaring defense is, so basically you're trying to block with your forearms, and it works really well in boxing when you have the big gloves. You can kind of duck on a. Sometimes you hear I'll call it turtling. I think. So this is a high guard defense. When I say high guard defense, just keeping your hands up high. I have no problem with that. It's the blocking like this. And then he does like this, and then turtling is when you really come down. You can do it in boxing. You see boxers do it a lot when they're hurt against the ropes. They start like hiding everything in there. The negative is you open the body kicks that way. You also you lose vision. There's a little thing where you can come out and you can sidestep a little bit. Now you got a different angle. If you hide it here, if you side, like I know everything's backwards on my screen, but if I sidestep here, now this angle is open. This angle right here comes open. And then obviously just the wrestling, your hands up super high, you can't stop wrestling. There's no perfect way of defense in MMA because you have to protect from your head all the way to your calves, really, or really your heel on takedown defense. Let's go with Erceg because he lost the fight, but I feel like I'm watching a guy and I'm like, and I know some people are like, oh, he lost 3 fights in a row. I'm watching a guy and I'm like, dude, to me he lost, but still showed he's one of the best guys in the world because look what he just did with Brandon Moreno.
Can I throw a couple thoughts out here?
Sure.
A comment came in really early that I didn't want to let completely slip, especially because I think it's from a new a new friend. Mike something. Anyway, he said, can we be honest that Erceg is privileged? There's 2 sides to the coin. There's either Erceg is privileged. Thank you. There's either Erceg is privileged or there's Erceg can't catch a break. Like when you got knocked out in the first round by a top 10 guy and your next fight is against a top 5 guy, that's either privilege. Oh, in
his home country.
In his home country, it's either privilege or they are sacrificing Erceg's development in favor of putting continuing to put Moreno over. Because here's the thing, and I'm going to throw this out there because I wanted to say the exact same thing that you basically did, where Erceg lost, but his stock is not down in my book, and I'm going to make I don't know how bold the prediction is, but here's the prediction: Steve Erceg will fight for a UFC title again.
I mean, look at him tonight. Like he's right there, and so some things. So I kind of agree with his statement in the fact where how he got a title shot. It was like right place, right time. They needed a main event. You're top flyweight that hasn't fought for the title, doesn't have something booked. You just happen. Everything falls perfectly on you. Since then, I feel like the opposite. Like the Kai Kara-France fight, it is what it is. Like that was a winnable fight for him. Yeah, but then he could have took a huge. He could have been third fight, fourth fight from the top on this card today. And no one would think otherwise. No. but the fact that he's fighting the main event. So I kind of understand what he's saying there. But I'll say somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, and it really just is a question of perspective. Like there's no question that he is getting high profile bookings compared to his experience level in the UFC and overall, but whether that is doing him any favors is the open question.
Sure. So some of the things that I thought Erceg did really well. First, he was super composed. Like the moment didn't seem too big for him. Like going into Mexico, even when Moreno kind of came out the gate very hot, landed some big shots, almost like rattled him very early in the fight. Or I don't know if he rattled him, but he landed a big shot where like the crowd went crazy. Like you see him how he recovered. He had probably, like you mentioned, he had one of his best rounds the second round, the third round, like these strong, like second and third round. Right after those moments, he was really composed. I think when he was fighting from distance, he was really good. When he was popping the jab, really good. I thought he was very accurate, landing a lot of shots, and he had the better volume of the two fighters.
Yeah.
Anything else stand out good for you for Erceg?
You nailed the main thing, which is the composure. I guess after you get that kind of baptism by fire where you're fighting, Alexandre Pantoja, one of the top pound for pound fighters in the sport, like within a year of getting signed, you're not going to get rattled easily. And I think that's what we're seeing from him. Ninja Kitty, like perhaps saying that Erceg was composed to a fault. Maybe could have, used a little more fire under his butt.
That's kind of was leading to something. I agree with the punching power. I don't know if he lacks punching power, but more that he didn't like bite down his mouthpiece and try to like. I've never been one of those guys where I kind of talk negative about what I say. The guy who tries to even the score, where he gets hit hard, now he's going to try to find one himself.
Sure.
I don't think that's good. That's a good way to get knocked out. But you also have to give yourself opportunities to even the score. You know what I mean? And then, I totally agree. He didn't lead enough, he was kind of letting Moreno dictate the fight, how it was going. Definitely, I think he got away from the kicks way too early. I think that was really, really good cornering by his team. And he was like, hey, you set off really good kicks. Let's go back to those kicks. And he really didn't do it enough. And I think just urgency, like even the fifth round there, like, but then you see how he reacted when he lost. He's like, I thought I was landing the better shots. I thought I was winning. His corner wasn't telling him that. Like his corner was saying, oh yeah, you're up. They were telling him like, dude, step on the gas. Let's go. So I've always felt people who have a very high boxing skill and boxing background. And I know he's done jiu-jitsu. I know he's really more of a mixed martial arts, but I mean like he's really good boxer. They have those I'm not getting hurt, so I must be winning moments.
Yes.
And that's tough, especially when you're on the road and the crowd's like. There was one point where Moreno kind of swung three or four big shots, and they were all blocked. And I don't know if it was Lorosenko or DC, but they're like, even those moments look good for Moreno. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. None of those landed, but.
Oh, and you mentioned that Moreno kept kind of surprising Erceg either by just countering with one shot or actually blitzing and disrupting Erceg's rhythm. A couple times when he did that, Erceg basically had to turn his back and just like run a few feet away to reset. Short of getting hit and dropped, I think that might be the worst looking thing for the judges. Like when judges see you just like legit turn your back, run 10 paces away to reset, like even though it's a tactical choice, refs or judges remember that, I think, more than anything short of like, again, just getting a huge hit landed on you. Marcel Dorf, our man in Amsterdam, Marcel, huge. Like if you don't follow Marcel Dorf on Twitter /X, you should, and watch the MMA odds breaker as well.
Yeah, is Amsterdam, is that a city in Mexico? Where's that?
Yeah, it's northern Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eastern
Mexico.
Very, very eastern Mexico.
Yeah.
I want to just because Moreno's. Let's do this. We'll talk about what's next. Moreno's in such a tough. He's calling for. I mean, he wants a title fight. He's talking about I move the needle better than everybody. I need the headline to pay view, and there's. Like you can say a statement, you can say a sentence, and one part could be completely true, but the ending could be completely false. Deserves title fight? False. Moves the needle better than anybody in the division? Totally true.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's the guy that the UFC wants to be the champion, and rightfully so. I mean, the guy's a star in Mexico. He's even outside of Mexico. I mean, MMA fans love Brandon Moreno, rightfully so.
Oh,
he's so likable.
One of my favorite wholesome MMA moments within the last few years is when a bunch of UFC fighters all started commiserating that Brandon Moreno was their mom's favorite fighter.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I was telling right before the main event started. My wife was making me pick up my clothes in my bedroom, and I'm picking up and I have the computer that I look in, and we're talking about Brandon Moreno, and she's coming in, and I told me, how Brandon Moreno's so liked, and I always tell the story about like when he stood there and he like, one day I'll be UFC champion, and then they did that flashback when he actually won it, and they went to the flashback when he was saying he was going to do it, and I was like, that was like one of the coolest moments. Yeah, I mean, how do you not like Brandon Moreno? The problem is so if you don't think he deserves a title shot, which I'm not going, you might disagree with me, you might go with the title shot. He's fought everybody else, like everybody else in the top, unless you go way down and you have a fight, up and coming riser, which I'm not. He is on that short list of hardest guys to matchmake right now.
I agree, but I do have a name.
Okay, let's hear it.
Manel Kape.
Okay, so who's fighting for the title? You're giving Cara France the title shot?
I don't love it because Cara France has even won 2 fights in a row. Like,
I think he's won one of his last 3 fights. And the guy he beat is on a 3-fight losing streak. It's tough. So I looked at 4 guys kind of in the running. You have obviously Pantoja, he's got to fight someone for the title. You have, to me, it's like he's at the top of the list. Moreno's at the 4 spot. And then you have Cara France, who is a guy that, hasn't faced Pantoja for the title. So, like, that's always an option because Pantoja is the same thing. You have the champion who's fought everybody and beat everybody, too. So he makes it difficult. And then you have Kape, who's just that guy who he's on a longer winning streak than Cara France. And he hasn't faced Pantoja. He hasn't fought for the title. Like, he has all those things going for him.
You're probably right.
So I'm giving Kape, who, he's had his boring. I mean, he won his last fight with Nakamura, but before that was a very boring fight up to that moment. He's missed weight. He's very untrust. He can be inactive at times. So I feel like Kape is kind of stuck.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to give him that because. And then I went the opposite way. I'm like, I got to go Moreno. I'm going down the list of guys, and I'm like, no fight makes sense. I'm like, dude, I'm going to give him Cara France again, like a rematch against Cara France, just as like the other 2 guys that are right there, number 1 contender matchup. That division is dying for somebody new.
Yeah, it really is. In that sense, it would have been better if Erceg had won because at least there are a ton of contenders that Erceg hasn't fought yet.
Yeah, and then let's not forget that Moreno's fought Pantoja how many freaking times and lost to him. Is it 3 times?
Moreno's 0-3 against is 0-3 against Alexandre Pantoja.
Yeah, if you count the
tough fight.
Yeah, he's 0-3. Yeah, so like that's a hard sell. Like you can give me Mexico, you can give me Brandon Moreno's the best, but that's a hard sell to Pantoja. It's like, well, how many times I got to beat this guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed.
What are we doing with Erceg? Because I think we would have a much different range.
I think we might, but here's the thing. I am giving Erceg a huge step down. Like at this point, I believe Steve Erceg is a top 10 fighter on talent, on skill, but he's a top 10 fighter who's now lost 3 in a row. So I'm giving him other top 10 quality fighters that have lost a bunch recently. The names I had are Alex Perez, Matthias Nicolau, and Cody Durden. None of them have fought this year yet, so whichever one of them is ready to go.
Yeah, I had Cody Durden as my guy. Like I was taking a big step down. I'm putting him like, first fight of a fight night, like a good, not an Apex fight night, but like, you're in Denver, Colorado, or you're in Boston.
Or you stick him third from the top if they're like in Australia or something.
Sure, yeah, exactly. But I'm not putting him on pay-per-view or anything. I'm gonna throw a name at you, and my man Ben Cooley beat me to it by 1 minute. This is the wild card of the division. Signed. I'm sure my man Marcel Dorff can give us the exact time signed, but Kyoji Horiguchi.
The Gooch. You know, like of all the goodies that may be coming over from PFL buying, and then, if I can be honest, slightly fumbling the bag with Bellator's roster.
Slightly? Slightly? That's the difference between you and me. You're the professionalist. PFL doesn't have a freaking clue what they're doing. But anyways, carry on.
Like, I'm thinking, oh, dude, I can't wait till Patchy Mix gets to the UFC. I wonder if the UFC wants to give Ryan Bader another piece of rope. Then I remember, like, Kyoji Horiguchi just kind of sitting over there. You know, if we get Horiguchi versus Cop 3 in the UFC, that'd be pretty hilarious.
Yeah. So you're saying, well, first of all, one is Horiguchi making the weight. It's been a long time. He's fought.
Yeah, he's been at 135 for a long time.
A very long time. I mean, Asakura was the same situation, and I asked Dana about that when he was fighting with that. I said, Asakura is your next main event, and he worried about making weight, and he of course said like, oh no way, and he obviously he was right, but Horiguchi would be the same way, and he's super professional. I think if he signs to fight 125, he makes it.
Yeah.
Do you do one of those back to back? Do you put Horiguchi right in the main, for the title, or do you do the opposite and you say, hey, we're putting Horiguchi against Moreno?
I would love, and I said this about Asakura, but again, everything is driven by the need to feed fresh challengers to Pantoja 2 or 3 times a year. I would love Asakura to have gotten a fight in the UFC before he fought Pantoja, and I don't feel as strongly in the case of Horiguchi, but I still would love Horiguchi to have another fight before deciding whether he challenges for the title. Because here's the thing with Asakura. Like, obviously the weight was one thing, but also Asakura, I don't believe, had ever fought in the cage as a pro. Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
at least Horiguchi has done that, the UFC Octagon, no less, and challenged for a title. And then obviously he was in the Bellator talent trade for 3 or 4 years there. But I'd still love to see Horiguchi against a top contender in the UFC flyweight division before getting a title shot. Yeah.
Yeah. He's definitely a needed guy. The division really needs him. Horiguchi is rumored to fight Ulanbekov in Azerbaijan, apparently. Yeah, that makes no. I mean, I get it. What it. Yeah. Okay. Now, I was gonna say that makes no sense, but then I'm thinking about, like, the problem is he's been fighting in that area of the world, the eastern side. Like, you've been dying for this guy to come back to UFC. Well, get him on the west, right? Like, this is what you've been waiting for. Get him on, in this region. But that's just me. I want to do something real quick before we move on, because the rest of the fights, if we're being honest, it's not as top heavy rankings wise and everything. We'll probably breeze through them a lot quicker. Laura Sanko mentioned the Mount Rushmore of flyweights.
Yeah,
let's do it real quick. To me, obviously Demetrius Johnson is on it. He's got that, like, George Washington spot. Like, not only is he on it, but he's got that main spot.
Demetrius Johnson is on my MMA Mount Rushmore regardless of weight class. So
me too.
Yeah,
me too. Okay. Pantoja.
Well, let me.
And I put you on the spot. Like, I didn't tell you we would do this ahead of time.
I'm going Demetrius Johnson, Brandon Moreno, Davidson Figueiredo, Alexandre Pantoja.
Figueiredo, Pantoja, and who was the fourth one?
Moreno.
Okay. So yeah, I was basically going to ask, like, who's the fourth one? I had Moreno and Pantoja, and it was whether Figueiredo, or do you go like Benavidez, who was in the division longer but never won the title. I know some people would throw Cejudo in there, but just because he won that one fight, I don't put Cejudo in there.
Joseph Benavidez would have been on my Mount Rushmore over people that actually won a title until pretty surprisingly recently.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Absolutely. The weird thing, I know Figueiredo was on the wrong side of that 4-fight thing with Moreno, but to me, that when I think of the flyweight division, that thing will always come up as one of the, like, you mentioned flyweight division to me. First thing I'm going to think of, Demetrius Johnson. The second thing I'm going to think of is the 4-fight like thing we had with Figueiredo and Moreno, which obviously was spectacular. So it seemed like everyone else is going the same way. Nonprofit 87 throwing Ian McCall in there. And who's BB? I'm missing that one. Am I forgetting someone?
Maybe that stands for something else.
Oh yeah. I don't know. You gotta help me out with that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. In the co-main event, Drew Dober took on Manuel Torres. Torres winning by first round knockout. But before we one of the worst stoppages of all time. I mean, it was I think it was 15 unanswered hammer fists in a row. So Ben, let me tell you about my day today. At one point before softball, I have a fence that's rotting, and I have to replace boards, and I'm trying to keep the pickets, but I'm trying to replace the running board across. So I have to knock out the pickets, but I don't want to damage the pickets, and then also the spots, someone kind of rotted, so I got to replace them. But generally, I'm trying to save as many pickets as I can. So I'm banging a rubber mallet on a picket, and that's what it looked like today with Manuel Torres and Drew Dober. Dude got hit more times than I was hitting the freaking pickets. Good Lord, what was Mike Beltran doing?
I feel for Drew Dober because I don't think he was just doing this performative. Hey, why? I think he literally didn't realize how badly he was knocked out. I bet
he got up standing like this, he was.
Yeah, like this. I bet if you had stopped and asked him right then, he would have been like, "Yeah, I got hit with 2 hammer fists and then got back up." I think he completely went out probably multiple times during that. During that sequence. So he's not getting up trying to be all hey. I think he literally did not know how bad he got. Oh. Yeah, that's rough, dude.
MMA clip saying 15 back of the headshot. I didn't really see where they were landing. They might have been. I really, I wasn't really paying attention where they were landing, but it wouldn't shock me if they were back of the head because there's no such thing as back of the head punches in MMA. I told someone it looked like whack-a-mole. When me and my friends would play whack-a-mole, there'd be 6 of us, and we'd all have one hole, and we'd oh, it's another record at the roller skating record. United Skates. If United Skates of America, right there in East Providence, Rhode Island, wants to know who broke the whack-a-mole machine, it was me and my friends back in 1995. I think TLC was playing, or Salt and Pepper maybe, or Heavy D and the Boys.
And see. You picture if there was a whack-a-mole that had Drew Dober, he would get destroyed because his head wouldn't go back down into the hole. Just that jaw would just kind of stick. So someone's got the big old red shiny mallet. Just yeah.
His chin compared to his I think about his shirt, trying to get his shirt over, must be when you were a baby and you have to take a block and you got to put it in the hole, but you got to keep moving it different directions to try to fit it in the right hole.
I thought you were going to say a baby, their onesies have 3 buttons over here because their head is so big compared to their shoulders. You got to unbutton their shit before you get it dressed.
That was pretty. So let me ask you this. Obviously, we'll get into the actual fight. Manuel Torres got a beautiful knockout. Are you believing in more in Manuel Torres' power, which he's shown many times now, or the opposite, that Drew Dober's chin is kind of starting to fail him, or has completely failed him now?
I picked Torres in this one, and I based my pick mostly around I feel like Dober's durability is starting to slip. I don't that hasn't changed for me. Dober always had a style where he got hit as well, and kind of, I mean, they don't fight anything alike, but the mentality, it's the Dustin Poirier mentality where I can stand in the phone booth with you, I'll slip your best punch, or I'll take 1 out of 3, I'll nail you harder and you'll go down. Just trusting his reflexes and his chin to carry him through those firefights. Dober's pretty similar, and like I've said before, when it starts to fall off for a guy like that, it can be quick and ugly.
Yeah. Absolutely. And one thing we don't do, dude, you know what? Screw all you guys in the chat. Last week, you were dogging me and Ben reading our picks. I don't know what Ben's record was, but I know it was pretty damn good tonight. I went friggin' 11-1 on the night. Ain't nobody talking about how good our picks were, Ben.
No, I went 10-2, and the one fight we disagreed on, you got it right and I got it wrong, but I scored it the other way. It was the Rodriguez versus Melky Costa fight. I actually scored it for Rodriguez, so
Yeah.
You know, in
So
my
screw
perfect
you
world, I went
guys.
11-1.
Yeah, screw you guys. We're pretty damn close to clean sweeping it tonight.
Yeah.
Anyways, um, so to answer that question, I mean, it's somewhere in between. Like I know I didn't give you the like I said. Oh, is it Torres's power or his chin? I think it's just both are happening. You know, Torres has like power, and he's not the guy you want to eat shots from, especially if your chin is failing. So,
having said all that, he came off as much less of a wild man than usual tonight. I thought he had a more composed performance, kind of waited, you know, a minute and 40 seconds or whatever. But
sure,
you know, kind of like took what Dober gave him, kind of countered him cleanly and zapped him. I expected it to be a lot more stressful. I expected Torres was just going to get into like a wild brawl with Dober, but no, he kind of sniped him.
Like you're impressed that he could sit in the he looked like a kindergartner in like a barber's chair. Like how long? Like you better cut that hair quick because how long before that kid starts sliding out of the chair?
Well, let me get this out. He is such a kid in a barber's chair. I mean, the most adorable thing of the night was after the fight, he's so happy. You can tell he wants to hug somebody so bad. And like 3 different people, like it was Cormier, it was Fabiano Buscay, the Spanish/Portuguese translator, where you can tell he wants to give him a hug, but he's like, oh, I'm all sweaty. I don't want to be weird. So he just kind of like lays his head on their shoulder. He did it like 3 different people. Like what a gent this guy is.
Yeah. Just to answer Antoine Willis, I mean, Dober had a ceiling already. Like, does he think Dober is done? He had a ceiling that limited his ability anyways. He was never like a top 10 guy. But then, yeah, at 36, being that you have to have a style to land one, be a crisper striker, you lose any speed, you lose any durability, it all starts falling apart. I think you're gonna start seeing Dober lose a lot. As far as Torres,
Tony Ferguson. I think Tony Ferguson.
Yeah. I hope for Dober's sense, I hope it's not that. For Torres, I just kept thinking the same thing when he knocked out Dober. How freaking good is Ignacio Bahamondes?
He's really damn good.
Because I mean, obviously that win looks even better for Bahamondes, who just ran through Manuel Torres. And the other thing I kept saying is like we have this, you know, for a long time, and we talked about this probably about a month ago. We talked about how lucky we have to lived in this era of this like crop of lightweight greats that are just action guys. And
Poirier, Gaethje, Chandler, Oliveira, all at the same time.
But then on the flip side, so that absolutely so. But there's a changing of the guard happening, and not saying that those guys can't compete, but we're getting this new crop of lightweights. And I was just looking down, and I'm talking about Torres and Bahamondes, Paddy Pimblett, Joel Alvarez, Fareed Zayam, Ludwig Klein, Mauricio Ruffi, Matthias Rebeski. There's a whole bunch of these guys rising up. And I think we're, you know, the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to see those guys we were talking about, those action guys out. And these are the guys going to be the stars of the division. And obviously, I'm not saying every one of the guys I just listed, but like of those guys. And there might be a couple of guys I didn't list too. Gene Silva. But he's 145, but he's fought both.
Yeah.
But yeah, good pull, Gene Silva.
So are we talking about what we're doing with this guy next, or
sure?
Like,
what do you want to do with him?
I'm not giving him a huge step up, honestly. I'm giving him another person kind of in that same territory because, again, he got blown out like 6 months ago. You know, he has 1 win since then. I'm giving him either Terrence McKinney, or in a couple weeks. He probably starts as McKinney, but I'd say 70-30. There's a 30% chance that McKinney starts as him.
Well, but there's also a 30% chance like McKinney starts as like a freaking Jaguar.
Yeah. Or if Chase Hooper beats Jim Miller, I think that'd be 5 or 6 straight for Hooper.
Wow.
Give me Torres versus Hooper. Like Hooper's improving striking and durability. Yeah, I think that's an interesting clash of styles there.
Wow. Oh man. Yeah, we're taking way different routes. If we were in the room, we'd be having a huge argument. I'm going way higher. I'm going Rafael Fiziev. I'm going way higher.
It's
co-main event of a fight night, a good fight night.
Co-main event of a good fight night,
or the opener of a pay-per-view.
Yeah, hell, bring him back for Noche UFC in September in Guadalajara. I mean, that's going to be a packed main card, but
Sure.
he get some decent placement on it. Sure.
That's a long time. I know they want to get the Mexican guys on that.
Yeah.
That's like 6 months, man. That's a long time to wait.
Hell, hey, maybe he fights another time in between.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he really broke a sweat this one. Speaking of not breaking a sweat, before that, CJ Vagara took on Edgar Chairez. Edgar Chairez winning by first round sub. I mean, if this was the old Mortal Kombat, this is the flawless victory.
That's pretty much it. He looked great for the brief amount of striking there was. Once he saw Vergara was hurt, he didn't waste any time, pounced on him, was on the back in a flash, and it was all academic from there. Like, he never really got the choke under the chin. I think we put it down as a face crank, but the last 18 months have been kind of the year plus of the face crank anyway. Vergara kind of looked like once Chairez was on the back, I didn't see much out of Vergara. He looks like he kind of quit, but that shouldn't take anything away from Edgar Chairez. He looked fantastic.
Yeah, I think the fight was over before he even really knew it started. It was like when me and my son play video games, and he'll be like, "Oh, Dad, play this. Here's one. I don't even know what it is. It's like I think you told me it's like Mario Brothers are in it, and it's like 9,000 characters.
Super Smash Bros.
Like Super Smash Bros. Yeah. And there's no bros. It's Super Smash Dad. Like, we'll play with each other, and he'll be like, "Dad, play with this," and I'll be like, "All right." And he'd give me, like, I always pick random because I don't know the difference. But he'd go through the characters he picks, and I just hit the random, and they give me whoever. And I'd be like, all right, Robbie, how do I kick? And then before he like finishes telling me what button kicks, like, I'm up in the air spinning, and he's hitting me, and I'm like, that's what happened to Vagara. Like, he was spinning in the air, next minute he landed in a face crank. I mean, Chairez was just jabbing him up. What I love what he was doing. He was looking so you could tell his boxing. They talked about, they had a big story about him working on his boxing in the legendary Mexican boxing gym. But he's jabbing, and he's landing the jab, and then suddenly he goes from the straight jab just to the same lead left, but just hooks it around the defense and absolutely starches. I mean, Vergara wasn't knocked out, but it was pretty much a club and sub right there.
Yeah.
And then he jumps on his back and finishes him. He's getting 50,000. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, he sure should.
Before that, Raul Rosas Jr. took on Vince Morales. Before we get into the action, Ben, I just want to say 3, 2, 1. Shoot! As Rojas Jr. Won by unanimous decision. I said it on the preview show, which we actually didn't get to talk to each other about the preview show. For people who watched the preview show, I'm all in on Rojas Jr. I know you're pretty high on him too. Like, I'm all in. Are you with me, or are you? Some people didn't like his performance tonight.
I liked his performance, okay, but I'm all in on him in the sense of he absolutely belongs. I would not be in favor of cutting him even if he lost his next 3 fights. Like, he at this point has shown not only that he's as good as he is now, but is developing to the extent that he deserves the chance to keep developing. I will say that he is still showing enough flaws that it's hard for me to picture him breaking into the top, like at least into the upper reaches of the top 10 in a division like 135. Because right now, I made this comparison in the Sherdog Slack as we were watching the fights. It kind of makes me think of a bantamweight Michael Chiesa, where his striking is still awkward to watch. It's effective, especially when fighters are scared of going to the ground with him. He's not a traditional, like, explosive shoot through your hips wrestler, but he's getting kind of a good long armed man takedown game. and then he's lights out on the ground offensively, but still capable of getting himself in trouble with other grapplers who are good offensive grapplers. Like, and that those just check all the boxes of the Michael Chiesa scouting report for me.
Yeah, dude, I'm sold, man. I think he's gonna be special. I mean, the kid's only 20 years old. That's the thing that stands out to me. I mean, when is his prime? 7, 8, 9, 10 years from now? 12 years from now? I mean, what do we?
Yeah. Honestly, I could see him being like a featherweight title contender 5 or 6 years from now.
Yeah, but I also think he could be a contender 3 years from now, and still be a competitor 11 years from now.
He's
got it.
Well, the big question marks on him after the Christian Rodriguez fight were, okay, is gas going to be a problem for him, and is his striking going to be a liability? Is he just going to be kind of stuck and not appear to know what to do against somebody that can move laterally, maintain space, and kick his legs? He's addressing both of those. So if he can just keep on plugging the holes in the boat, I'm not saying he's going to win his next 10 or 12 fights on his way to be a champ. Like,
sure,
he might be a guy that has a couple setbacks along the way. Like, we got a ton of recent champs that you can say that about. Hell, every flyweight champ since Demetrius Johnson, has had to kind of battle his way to the top and have some setbacks.
I can see, it's like, I don't know, 2031, and it's like, well, he's had his ups and downs in the UFC, but he's starting to really coming into his own now, fighting for the title with a 16-5 UFC record, like, which is, you look at how many fights he's already fought in the UFC, and he's only 20. It's not out of the realm of possibility that 6 years from now he has 20 something fights in the UFC.
Oh,
and then he's fighting for the title. He has a whole career in the UFC before we even consider him, as a title contender.
Completely agreed. Like, not the same arc, but I think Michael Bisping still holds the record for the most fights in the UFC before your first title shot. It's either him or Charles Oliveira.
Okay.
It could be something like that. Like, there's no need to rush, which I think is why I'm pretty conservative in what I'm thinking would be appropriate to do with the guy next. Like, there's no reason to rush him on to the monsters, in the top 10 of this division.
And the thing that he has, like, he draws haters. There's a lot of people hate him. This MMA fans can be the worst. If anybody is popular, people will find reason to hate him all. And it's like, this kid's 20 years old, and you're really like, oh, he hasn't fought anybody yet. It's like, oh, dude's 20 years old. Do we forget about that?
Yeah. I mean, is he annoying sometimes? Sure, but you know what? Most 20-year-olds are annoying.
Yeah.
Like, I have multiple 20-year-olds that have issued forth from my loins, and they annoy me sometimes. Like, 20-year-olds are annoying if you're a full-grown adult. Like,
I think I told my 13-year-old, I mean, she's 13, but she's not that far off from 20. And the other day I was like, dude, hit the freaking bricks, kid. Get out of here. That's my saying. I always say, hit the bricks. The thing why I think he's special is that he does continue to grow. You talked about his cardio improved. I mean, he just went in elevation, 15 minutes hard. Moments where he could have quit. I mean, the Peruvian necktie was on him. He could have quit, and he didn't. I think he's improving in striking. I mean, especially his pressure in his striking. And I like him in the southpaw stance a lot better than the orthodox. And he's always been a good ground fighter, good grappler. He's improving on his overall wrestling skills. His entries and stuff are getting better. And you talk about his marketability. Like, you got to have, the Mexican fans love him. You got to have, like, I always talk about, like, a guy I was texting him today. One of my daughter's softball coaches. We was like fist bump and go shoo-wee-wee, because he loves the shoo-wee-wee thing. So you got to have people find him annoying, and that's fine. So you said you want to take a slow roll with him.
Yeah,
I'm probably taking a higher jump than you, but it's not a huge jump. Like I think he passes the test. So who are you going with?
To me, he just beat a guy that went 3-8 in the UFC after losing on the Contender Series. Like he just took a pretty straightforward decision over a guy that in no way belongs in the UFC. So I'm giving him somebody next who definitely belongs in the UFC. I'm giving him the winner of Davey Grant and Daniel Santos in a couple weeks.
Okay, I don't hate that. I'll tell you right now, the guy I'm gonna say is a bigger name. He might not be a harder test than Davey, especially I actually both those guys. But like Davey Grant's like a grizzled veteran who's crafty. I'm kind of going a similar grizzled veteran, but also somebody he's gonna have a hard time taking down. But I think my guy's gonna win. I think Rojas is gonna beat my guy in the feet. I'm going Ricky Simone.
Oh, I consider that one.
I'm giving him like you say he's not tested. Well, he's fighting Ricky Simone.
And
co-main event.
And Simone is coming off of a sensational win.
Yeah.
So it's like it circumvents the whole argument of, well, Simone was faded. He looked like crap. He lost 4 straight. Like Simone looked sensational in his last outing. Yeah, I like that too.
All right, let's move on. Before that, actually, no, was that the main card opener? Or no, there's more fights before that. I'm sorry. Lazy Boy was the main card opener. Before that, David Martinez took on Simon Oliveira. David Martinez winning by first round TKO. Do you believe? I know you were kind of skeptical a little bit on Martinez, saying that not a lot of tape on him and this and that. Do you believe in him a little bit? I mean, this was obviously a great showing by him.
I picked him to get a first round knockout. I'm like my jury is still out on him.
Sure,
but my thought was this is a perfect matchup for him because Oliveira fancies himself a Muay Thai striker, but actually his best skill at a UFC level is probably his groundwork. So that means one way or another, he's just going to have to walk straight into the wood chipper. That plays right into what David Martinez wants. Like I don't know if Martinez is a future top 10 guy in this division, but for the Simon Oliveira's of the world, it's highlight real time. Like,
so I want to mention something. So one thing I saw people on Twitter, they were talking about Martinez. They're like, "Oh, he's so young. He's only 26." And I'm like, "Wait a minute." And then like 10 minutes later, they're like, "Oh, Rojas hasn't fought anybody." I'm like,
"Yeah, he's overrated."
Imagine 6 years from now, Rojas is fighting. Anyways, but I agree what you said that this was a good stylistic matchup for him. But we've talked about this before. When you have that stylistic matchup, you do shit like this. Like I saw, it's like you getting that fastball down the middle. You get that fastball down the middle. Aaron Judge is going to hit that thing a mile.
Yeah,
that's why he's Aaron Judge. That's why he's future Hall of Famer. He's the man. Barry Bonds, you can never throw that pitch to. Mark McGuire, fill in the blank, whoever you want. Manny Ramirez. You can throw that same pitch to Jody Reed, and he's hitting it for a single.
Yeah,
and I'm really showing my age by going. I'm thinking I'm thinking of a mid-level like baseball player, and I go my old Jody Reed. How many people right now got that reference, Jody Reed, other than me and you?
Like I'll take mid-level Sox players from the 90s for 100, Alex. Yeah, I was like
early 90s too.
Yeah,
I went early 90, 92, 93. But you get my point.
Yeah,
he hit a freaking 500-foot shot. I mean, I mean, what I liked about him, he has speed, he has power, he understands range so well. He uses footwork very beautiful kicks, a lot of feints. Like there's so many things I liked about him. Like give me all of this. And I love his story too. I mean, you could tell me about a guy who his whole family would go to the UFCs when they came to Mexico City. It was a big deal for them. And then he's he had an undergraduate or something. I don't know how it worked. But he was like working as a hospital to be a doctor, and instead he turns to UFC. It's like just
It's a cool backstory. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Ninja Kitty kills me every week.
Yeah.
And always have Honus Wagner. Nice. Yeah, I was a big Honus Wagner fan. That's when I was listening to Oh Susanna. That was my top song on the radio.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're both pretty impressed with Martinez. Again, take it was worth. He beat Simon Oliveira, but I thought it was a really good showing. The other really hyped up Mexican fighter was Ronaldo Lazy Boy Rodriguez. He took on Kevin Borjas. Kevin Borjas winning by unanimous decision. This was the bracket buster. I had the filling out the March Madness bracket. I had a perfect bracket, and then this was like my. I don't know. I haven't followed this. Who's the bracket buster this year? March Madness.
BYU.
Mormons. Bunch of Mormons kicking ass. Church of Latter-day Saints kicking ass. All right. So they got all the wives and they're hitting banging threes and
exactly.
Well, all right.
Banging threes might refer to some of those wives too.
So Kevin Borjas is the Mitt Romney of the
Kevin Borjas looked really good. Like and it may turn out that I overestimated Ronaldo Rodriguez. He missed weight tonight. There may be weird extenuating circumstances, but what I'm sure of is that Borjas is a better striker than I thought he was.
Yeah, he looked great. He looked fast. He looked fast. Sharp, accurate. His right hand. DC kept pointing out Rodriguez dropping his hand, but man, he wasn't missing either. He was. And then what got me is the composure. Rodriguez had as big of a chair as probably anybody other than maybe Rojas and Moreno in the whole night. He's coming out with freaking Hector Macho Camacho, and you're in Mexico, and you know how crazy, energetic the arena was and stuff, and you just compose, and then you start piecing them up. And Boss looks legit, dude.
Yes.
You talked about Lazy Boy Rodriguez. What a disaster this night was. You talk about him missing weight. They set you up. You're on the main card. You open up the card. You're walking out with, Mexican, maybe, one of the biggest athletes of all time. And then you're in your home country and you get absolutely smoked, and you have to lose 20% of your purse too. And everybody is talking about, fraud check and overhyped, and we could see the chat right now what they're saying about him.
Yeah, he'll get more chances, to show what he's made of. A lot's going to be on him to prove his next time out, though.
Yeah. So the weight cut obviously bothers me. The drop in the lead hand bothers me, but to me, those are two easier fixes. To me, was the fight IQ. Why did he abandon his wrestling? He got a takedown. He fought so hard to get a takedown with, 20 seconds left in the first round, gets the takedown, and then doesn't look for a takedown again for the rest of the fight.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get it.
But
and someone tweeted that to me on Twitter, and I forgot who it was, but shout out to that guy. I forgot. It reminded me to put that on the I don't know. Take I'm sorry, I can't remember who did it, but all right, we're gonna take a break from the fights. Let's get to know your host with the Shill and Duffy Show. We'll do this real quick. We'll throw this question out to all. Ben does not know the question I'm asking, so I'll make it super easy. Ben, rank these 4 breakfast foods. I'm gonna give you the 4. You give me best to worst. Pancakes, French toast, waffles, and any kind of muffin. Your favorite muffin.
Waffles, number 1.
Number
real
1.
waffles that are made with real waffle batter and a real iron. Number 1.
Wow.
I'd say
my daughter Amber would my middle kid. She would totally agree with that. She loves waffles.
Pancakes, number 2. And I'm not picky about pancakes. I grew up just eating the Bisquick, box pancakes.
Do you have a topping you like, or you have blueberries?
I don't have a sweet tooth or anything. For me, just slap some butter on them. I'll fold them in half like a taco and eat 15 of them just sitting there.
Are you like a syrup snob where my wife is? She's got to have the real maple syrup, and she gives down, well, that's Canada this and Canada, some third world country makes this great enemy of America like Canada.
No, I don't have much of a sweet tooth at all.
Okay,
I'll have a little, if someone's got some real maple syrup at the table, but seriously, just slap some butter on it, give me my fat and my carbs, and I'm good. I would say muffins are third, because there are a number of different muffins that I like a lot.
Sure.
I like blueberry muffins, like any muffins that are like coffee cake that have like the crumble type
Oh
top.
yeah,
I like that stuff.
that's not a muffin though. Coffee cake is not a muffin.
Yeah.
That's just that's not fair. Coffee cake's that's number one on the list. But that's not a muffin.
But French toast last for me. Like, keep my eggs and my bread separate. Like, French
Wow.
toast. Maybe I've just never had the right French toast, but I just always think of it as having like some kind of like soggy egg in the middle, and people always like slather a bunch of syrup on that shit.
Even
like,
with the powdered sugar, you don't like even the powdered sugar on top.
Get it away.
Wow, my wife would actually be really disappointed. She would definitely put French toast number one. How about your wife? What would your wife? Just give me her best.
Oh, wife would like waffles for sure.
Waffles.
She doesn't like eggs much at all. So
really,
yeah. French toast is right. It's tough to book a Mother's Day brunch for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get her a waffle. That's it. I'll go best to worst. I'm going pancakes. You give me some nice short stack of pancakes. You can't go wrong. And I get a plain. I mean, I can do blueberries and I can do chocolate chip. But generally speaking, I'll just do the plain pancakes.
Same here. I'm all for that, man.
I don't put like bananas or strawberries or any of that shit on it.
Ninja Kitty, I live in the South. I do like chicken and waffles. I mean, it's a whole different animal, because like it's going to have a little bit of syrup on it, but it's also going to have like hot sauce, and it has a big piece of fried chicken on it. It's a whole different thing.
And those weird buns with gravy. Yeah, that's a South thing. We don't.
Biscuits and gravy. Like, yeah. Keith didn't bother to throw out biscuits and gravy because that would just stomp all over all of this. Yeah.
Yeah. All of a sudden, yeah, I would rank that dead last. My number two, I'm gonna go French toast. I like French toast, so French toast is gonna be high on my list. I like the powdered sugar on it, and three, I'm gonna go with a nice corn muffin. I love me some corn muffins. And my last one, dude, is waffles. Now a waffle cone with ice cream is different. I love that. Like slice, you know what I'm talking about, with a nice cooked right in front of you, like smelling it. But to me, a lot of waffles, like they're overcooked a lot or undercooked, and yeah. But it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Antoine, if you watched the recap last week, my kid Adam that was on the show with me, he lives in Atlanta. Yeah, and
well, that's everywhere. I think we used to have a Denny's over here, and they used to have like that. What was it, like I don't know, like the $10 menu or some shit, $5 menu.
Guess what, Keith? All you got to do is turn 50 like me, and Denny starts getting cheap again. If you're willing to eat dinner at 4, if you're willing to eat dinner at 4 in the afternoon, it becomes more affordable again.
I'm pretty close. So I don't know what the consensus. We should have threw like a poll in there. See, I don't know if we can do polls. We should do a poll in the chat.
I'll look into it. We'll see if we can do some kind of poll next time.
But it seemed like how about this? Let's do this. We'll do a on the site poll only between me and Ben. Are you hitting pancakes with Keith, or are you hitting the waffles with Ben? You can put waffles in Ben or any way you want it, or you can put pancakes and Keith. Which one are you going with? And we'll go right back to the action. Speaking of a guy who loves to hit the pancakes, Jose Medina took on Atiba Gaudier, and I apologize. I know I butchered that name. Gaudier won by first round TKO. I don't know about you, but I just kept thinking the same thing when I was watching these two guys. Like, how are these guys fighting each other? They forget weight classes. They look like two different species. It looked like a freaking lion fighting a sloth. It looked like a kid trying to like cut a wood with like kid scissors, and I have a chainsaw in my hand. Dude, it looked like Ben like in his waffles trying to compete with me and my pancakes. You know, it looked like Bo Nickel wrestling an 8U wrestler. Like, what are you, the mismatch? It is the biggest mismatch in history of sports. This matchup might have been.
It looked like a squash match from like an 80s pro wrestling house show, where you Yeah, like
it's like
you've got literally like the Ultimate Warrior on some non-TV night, like wrestling like Paul Roma or Gino Carabello or like Iron Mike Sharp or some shit. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, what I liked about Godinez, so obviously the big thing about him was his level of competition, even before the Contender Series fight, and then even he looked good in the Contender Series fight, but fighting pretty obscure regional scene, but you look at the dude, the guy is fucking ripped. Yeah, he's got raw power. I like his accuracy, and what I really liked is when you have these younger guys who can knock everyone out. A lot of times they swing for the fences. That wasn't the case. He was like picking his shots. That shows maturity to me. I like that.
Yeah. Maturity, composure. On the preview, I kind of addressed the inevitable comparisons that were going to come between him and Francis Ngannou. And while I said right off the bat, he's not the next Ngannou, he's not the middleweight Ngannou, he's not any Ngannou, like, he's already a more diverse and composed striker than Ngannou was at this point in his own development. Like, at this point in his own development, fewer than 10 fights into his career, Ngannou was mostly a boxer, and if we're being honest, mostly a puncher. Like, he's developed a much more nuanced game, but Gaethje has already got it. Like, he throws like cleanly from both sides. He has better kicks. At least he has more heavily used and more MMA effective kicks than Ngannou probably ever has. Like, he's an exciting new guy to have in the division. He's probably going to take an L at some point here, but at his age, with his gifts, and again, that mindset he clearly already has, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think you made a really good point. We just talked about like the way they punch. Like a young Francis Ngannou it was a lot of looping big shots. He just had, I always said this, Ngannou had that, I don't have to hit you clean power. He just has to, like, it was like when you used to play Mike Tyson's Punch Out back in the day. If Mike Tyson punched you at all, you automatically got knocked out. It was kind of like that was the kind of case. Again, he knocked out Jose Medina, so take that for what it's worth. But this is what you should do when you're a guy who looks like who could become a star in Godinez. So I think obviously really good UFC debut. One of the fights that was this was the only fight we disagreed on. Besides that, I don't care about how I got this one right. You got this, like, we never kept score of who's picked more right over the years. I definitely care more about
I have. I just never mentioned it because it's you. Like,
I care way more about our waffles versus pancakes debate that's going on. But Christian Rodriguez took on Melquizael Costa. I just like this matchup altogether. Like, if you said to me, like, usually you ask what's the best fight other than the main event on the card, this was my answer. I was so intrigued for both of these guys, and I think both guys. I feel very similar to the main event. I feel like both guys look good, even in a loss for Rodriguez. And I know I looked at MMA decision. It's 7-5 on MMA decisions. I scored it for Costa. You scored it for Rodriguez. I mean, it's right there. It comes down to how you scored the first round. Costa won the second. Rodriguez won the third.
Yeah, that's pretty
the first
much
round raised it close.
Having said that, and I mean, as much as I like Rodriguez as a fighter, and it's just been fun to watch him be the prospect buster.
Yeah.
This is the first Christian Rodriguez fight where I went, you know what? At least part of the reason that he lost this fight is that he was too small.
Which could have been the case. Like in the clinch, like he kept hitting the foot sweeps. Like that was the best thing that was going on. I mean, Costa's like, dude, he was getting, you know what it looked like? He kept hitting that. It looked like a judo practice where they're just practicing foot sweeps. Where they're like, dude, do you not know that same foot sweep's coming every single time you guys clinch? But I do agree with you. There's some to that in the clinch in moments. He also, like, Costa gave Rodriguez the type of fight that Rodriguez should win. Like, Rodriguez wants a heavy grappling moment. There was a time I couldn't disagree with DC more. I thought Costa won the first, but a close. At one point, Rodriguez like falls or slips or something, but he's on his back and Costa's standing over him. And I think maybe Rodriguez went for a takedown and like Costa reversed, he was on top. And the end, I don't know if you remember how the end of the first round ended, but it was ended with Costa on top and winning a grappling battle from on top for like the last, I don't know, 45 seconds of the round or something like that.
Yeah, like Rodriguez popped up like right before the horn, but basically the story of the last 30 or 40 seconds of the round was Costa on top. Yeah.
Yeah, and don't quote me on the time, but like however, it's like it looked like, okay, Costa's on top. He does really well on top. And then, I think he won the round because of that. Then all of a sudden, the second round, early in the round, Rodriguez somehow ends up on bottom. Costa gets off of him, and DC's like, oh, that's a good idea. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, you could bank the second round. Just grapple again. So I disagree with that. But I felt like Costa backed up. He gave Rodriguez a lot of time in the clinch. He didn't disengage and fight from distance. Like, it was everything that Rodriguez wanted, and he still couldn't get the victory.
Yeah.
I'm not off. I'm not off Rodriguez. I'm probably picking, depending who he's going against. There's a good chance I'm picking him. I believe in Costa. The dude is super freaking, like, he's a slippery kind of dude.
He is. Yeah, I'm even thinking he was a pretty intriguing prospect when he got to the UFC. I read him wrong. He's a more well-rounded overall game and a classier, more technical striking game than I gave him credit for when he got to the UFC. And it's partly just that he's been improving. He went from, working or fighting, mid-level Brazilian promotions and probably working 2 jobs at the same time to actually having been in the UFC for 3 or 4 years now. But yeah, like, Costa's a fun guy to have around. He's still young. Yeah, this was a really good fight, man.
Yeah, he understands scrambles. Like, he can scramble. Like, he is, even like those times I'm like, he'd take him down. I'm like, oh, Rodriguez about to win the round. And also next to me, he was rolling through, grabbing the leg. He has that funk wrestling thing down. He's I don't think he's going to be an underdog in many fights. Depending on how much of a jump up in competition
until he hits the top 10, he's probably not going to be an underdog in many fights. Nonprofit 87. I make no claim to having coined this phrase, but Movsar Evloev, one of his first 2 or 3 fights in the UFC was against Grundy, and I said it looked like Grundy was trying to give a cat a bath. Like, just he kept getting the takedown, or at least getting Evloev on his butt, but just Evloev would not concede the position. He kept moving, refused to let his hips and shoulder blades stay on the mat. That's what Costa was like tonight.
So my dog is like Derek Lewis on bottom. When you try to give her a bath, like, you pick my dog up to give her a bath, she like fights with you, and then when you get her in like, she doesn't fight with you, but she like tries to get out of your hands, but like, she doesn't like bite or anything. But you get her in the bathtub, she like calms down and you spray her. But the second you like reach for the soap or like get your hand off her, she jumps right out. Like, she plays possum for a second. Like, I'm calm, don't worry. You don't have to have both hands on me at once. And then suddenly you let her for a second, she's jumping right out of there, shaking all around, water going everywhere. So Costa's on a nice little streak, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, he beat a good guy in Rodriguez. I'm going to give him the winner of Dan Ige. I'm going to give him the loser of Dan Ige versus Sean Woodson.
Oh, I'm glad you went this way, because I said, okay, UFC 314. It's in 3 weeks or 2 weeks now. There are 4 featherweight fights on the card. Yair and Pitbull, it's too high in terms of name recognition, contender status.
Like, Pitbull didn't come in to fight Costa. He didn't come in with the UFC.
If Pitbull beats Yair, he might have a title shot next.
Yeah, and even if he loses. It's like when Chandler lost. He like getting.
Oh, if he loses, he's fighting Max Holloway next or something.
Yeah, he's fighting someone super high.
The loser of Ige and Woodson works for me, or the winner of Juliana Rosa and Darren Elkins, or the winner of Bryce Mitchell and John Silva.
The winner of Bryce Mitchell versus John Silva. Wow.
I'd be fine with that. If it's Mitchell, if Silva wins, he probably has something better in store than Costa in the next fight. But if Mitchell wins.
Yeah, if Silva beats Mitchell and he beats him how a lot of people think he's gonna, like, starches him, does like a Josh Emmett type of thing to him, which is very possible. He's already popular. Then after how much hated Mitchell is, I mean, he could be fighting a really high guy. He could be fighting top 10 guy. I mean, Mitchell is basically top 10 now.
Yeah,
but like, he could be fighting top 5 guy.
Yeah, like if Silva destroys Mitchell, he might slap those glasses on and call out the winner of the Yair versus Pitbull fight and make a situation. Who knows?
We have to move on. We got to the moment, Ben. She got me believing again. I said I wouldn't do it, but she got me believing again. Lupi Godinez beat Julian Palastri win by unanimous decision. Ben, I can't fall in love with Lupi. I can't give up on Lupi Godinez. She's like the people who watch like the 28th season of Supernatural, and they're like, oh, I've committed this far, I gotta watch it again.
Like my wife is doing with Grey's Anatomy. Yeah.
Yeah, she's my Grey's Anatomy. She's my I forget the name of the Supernatural guys.
Sam and Dean.
Sam and Dean. She's my Sam and Dean. Tell me, don't do it, Ben. Talk me off the Lupi Godinez.
Okay, here's the thing. I know exactly how you feel about this because, again, she has one standout skill that is standout enough that if she leans on it, really, only the Mackenzie Derns and Verna Genjirobas of the world are even going to have anything to say about it. There are very few people that can stop her takedown, and there are a few more than that might make her think twice about shooting a takedown. But yeah, this is what Lupi Godinez is supposed to do. But I still don't believe that Lupi has really changed, which is why I'm going to book her against Angela Hill next. Because you know what? If she does what she's supposed to, she washes Angela Hill. Yeah. But if she turns back into the old Lupi Godinez, she loses a splitter. Yeah. Keith is unconscionably angry on that recap after screaming at his TV for 15 minutes.
So I didn't know how this night was going to go, but after Lupi Godinez wins, I don't care what happens the rest of the night. I'm happy. Lupi Godinez wins. She used her wrestling. Like, I felt like a proud dad. Like, I always believed in you. I knew you could do it. Like, like my kid came home and told me she got the top billing in the play, or my kid came home and she won the spelling bee or some shit. That's how I felt. And Lupi, when she wrestles, is really good. What I liked is not that she wrestled a lot. It wasn't she got one or two takedowns. She went to it. I remember one point she got a takedown, and plus she scrambled up to her feet, and then she took her right down. Immediately she took her right back in. Like, didn't even break.
The huge slam aside,
sure.
Just half of the benefit of her wrestling is it stopped Palastri from ever really getting her own offense untracked. Like, yeah. She just was so good at disrupting Palastri's rhythm, denying her the range that she wanted. Just Godinez always seemed to step ahead. Like, she also went for some clinch situations where, she was looking for an opportunity for the takedown. But in the meanwhile, like, she's denying Palastri the chance to strike at range. Like, yeah, that's what a good Lupi Godinez fight is supposed to look like, where her wrestling is effective defensively as well as offensively, just because it blunts what her opponent wants to do.
Yeah. Nonprofit 87 says DC going nuts for the powerbomb made his day. You want to talk about DC going crazy? We didn't talk about it, Ben. Last week, NCAA Division I championship, Wyatt Hendrickson beating Gail Caesar. Daniel Cormier had one. So
you're saying an Oklahoma State Cowboy beat the best heavyweight wrestler of like the past 20 years and did it right in front of DC? Of course he lost his shit. Like,
no, everybody was. I mean, Jordan Burroughs, Rock Harrison. It was one of the greatest.
Yeah, I watched it knowing the end from the beginning. I was like out of my chair.
You watched it afterwards?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I watched it live. I was going crazy. I couldn't believe it. But that was actually one of the best calls. They're pure excitement from those guys. Jordan Burroughs and Rock Harrison and DC, and that was super great. One thing before we move on, Palastri. What I like about Palastri, her stock didn't drop too much. I love the third round from her. She was down. She didn't have the skill set to end the fight, but what I loved is she showed urgency and she was going for it. And that's just what I'd want from a fighter. She didn't lose a boring decision. She went Korean Zombie impression in the third. Yeah. I like her.
Yeah, I agreed. This was not a great style matchup for her, but she did what you should if you are, being out wrestled by a wrestler.
So Antoine, I'm going to try to give you a 30-second answer on this instead of giving you. I could talk about this for 20 minutes. Is there any big D1 college wrestlers go to MMA? The problem is with the NIL deals, it's better for them to stay in college.
They make more money than UFC fighters.
They make more money. They do. They make more money. Yeah. Why? Yep. They're in that community that's suggesting they go on to freestyle and international and with the all these different programs they have to get them to go internationally. It's so rare for top wrestlers to come. And then people always forget this. And again, I said I was going to give you a 30-second answer, but and we can discuss this longer. If you take take a guy like Bo Bassett. Bo Bassett is the man in high school wrestling now. I think he's like 17, 18. He's a junior. I think he's 18 because I think he reclassed 1 year. So he'll graduate at 19 because what happens if you guys don't know what I mean by reclassing, you basically stay back a year to give an extra year of eligibility. Well, not an extra year of eligibility, but you just stay back a year to be older and more mature, so you do better in high school. So almost all the top guys do that now. So now you're 19 years old, and then say you redshirt a year, but Bassett probably won't. But say you redshirt a year, now you're 20 years old before you start your freshman year. And you do 4 years. Now you're 24. But within there, you got an injury. So you medical redshirt a year. Now you're 25. But then the Olympics took guys. So you took an Olympic redshirt year. Now you're 26. So the guy's 26 years old leaving college. Yep. But then you start your MMA career at 26? No, but you're the top guy. You just won the NCAA national championship. So you qualified automatically for Final X in the U.S. team. And you're so close to the Olympics and they stick around. There's no incentive for them to come to MMA. That's why they don't.
See, and this is a reason why I already miss Bellator, because you know what? AJ Ferrari is already 23 years old. He just put his name back in the transfer portal again. Yeah. Like, I don't know if it would set a record if he became an All-American for 3 different schools, but Bellator would offer him enough money right now to get him out of the transfer portal and just get him to head down to Florida and start training MMA.
I know Steve Buchanan just did it for 3 different schools.
Okay.
And he won the NCAA title at the end. But anyways, my point is you don't see the top wrestlers come to MMA. You see good wrestlers, don't get me wrong. And you got your Bo Nichols and all this, but even so, yeah. Let's move on. Before that, Vince Michelle took on Rafa Garcia. The fight was way closer than I expected it, and then it should have been. There was a couple 30-27. I think it was one 30-27 scorecard, which was really weird because Vince Michelle clearly won the second round.
There were 2.
Oh, 2 of them. Okay, so there was 2.
And yeah, I was worried after that when I was like, oh man, is this just going to be ruined by local judges and refs all night? But they kind of got it together for the main card. Yeah.
My man Antoine keeps pulling me off topic. He goes, I come up for the day when college wrestlers do that, like basketball, football. Imagine if they had like a draft and they had like, okay, the international wrestling selects. Okay, the MMA world selects. Dude, that'd be the most entertaining thing ever. Yeah, it came down to quality versus quantity. And Michelle was trying to land a lot of punches while Garcia was trying to land the best punches. And he had the first round was clearly Garcia. I thought the second round was clearly Michelle. The third round I thought went to Garcia because he had the better moments. But what I liked that Garcia did is that we went for a takedown late. I thought it was really smart for a fight that was all stand up, to sneak in a takedown, secure a close round. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty straightforward.
And the way the crowd was cheering for Rafa Garcia to get a win over Vince Michelle tells you every reason why UFC cars need to be on the road. Because imagine if that was in the Apex and there was 4 people cheering. Like, oh, cool, you beat Vince Michelle. Instead of, I don't know how many, 14,000 or whatever it was in the arena.
Yeah. This fight would have been depressing in the Apex. Yeah.
Yeah. Before that, Jamal Emmers took on Gabriel Miranda, winning by first round TKO. I mean, this is exactly how every single person on planet Earth envisioned this fight ending. And Jamal Emmers did exactly what we all expected and knocked him out.
Oh, yeah. Emmers dusted him. Made it briefly interesting.
Sure.
Just, Miranda took Emmers down quickly, but Yeah, this was a sharp performance from Jamal Emmers.
Yeah. So Miranda isn't UFC level, but one thing that I did like I love that even though he didn't have the submission, he went all out trying to get it because that was his only shot. Like
Oh yeah.
was it gonna land? No, but it was like might as well throw up the Hail Mary because you didn't have a shot. So Jamal Emmers, I don't want to break this on too much. This is this good showing by him. I mean, this is what you expect. And before that, Austin Hubbard took on Markel Medeiros. Medeiros winning by split decision. How did you score the fight?
I scored it 29-28 Medeiros. I gave Medeiros rounds 1 and 3.
Yeah, I actually went Hubbard. I went 2 and 3 for Hubbard, but I'm okay. Like, I completely understand why anybody would give it to Medeiros. Hubbard had a lot of control time. He had like 3 minutes control time, did a little bit of damage. I understand why someone would say Medeiros, like the elbow he landed, that one single elbow that cut Hubbard up and being the biggest moment. I'm okay with that. Like, I could watch that fight and completely change my decision.
Agreed.
That said, even though Medeiros won, like, I'm not feeling good about him moving forward. Like, his inability to get off and bottom and stop takedowns to me is very concerning.
Agreed. We've already talked about a couple fights on this card where nobody's stock really fell that much. This is one where neither guy really helped themselves that much.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So there you guys have. We covered all 12 fights. Let's get to the fun stuff. The Bulls and the Bears, the Cutlass, the Dude Seriously, the awards. Let's mix it up. Let's change up the order than we normally do.
Okay.
Let's do Dude Seriously first.
Okay.
Do you have any Dude Seriously, Ben?
I have one. It's probably the most obvious one. I
think I know what it is.
It's almost like Bruce Buffer hears me every week yelling, "You have one job." It's just to pronounce people's names right. And he goes, "Hold my beer," and actually announces the result of the fight wrong, proving that he has multiple jobs. Just some of them are so elementary and so easy that it's Keith's job to solve crimes, but it's also his job to put pants on before he leaves the house in the morning. But we don't mention that because it's assumed.
Yeah.
Like
if he had,
he does it a couple times a year.
Sure. If he had like one moment of blunder where it was like, I'm looking at this guy. I know this guy won, but I just happen to look at him and he said Miranda instead of Emmers. I said, okay. But the fact that he screws up pretty much every single week, 2 or 3 times a week, dude, seriously. I'll give you a couple more. I don't know if you caught this, but the referee in the Godinez Medina fight, he jumped in to stop the fight, overextended himself so his shirt rose up, and you had full plumber's crack. Like, dude, seriously. His big moment. How about Lazy Boy claiming he can't go to the store like he's like the freaking Mexican Tom Cruise because he beat O'Day Osborne? Like, dude, seriously, come on. Like, I remember seeing Bilal Muhammad in New York City. He won the title. He's walking around New York City at a UFC event. There are people going up to him. But like, he wasn't swarmed. Like, he couldn't like walk around. Like, get out of here, dude. And my last one, Chairez. I understand he's got a lot going on in his life, but dude was acting like he beat CJ Vagara. You beat CJ. He was acting like he beat DJ. Like, come on, dude. Seriously. Let's do the awards. Do we have the awards, man?
We do. There are 4 performances of the night, no fight of the night.
All right, let's do you no fight of the night, 4 performances. Do you agree with them?
All the ones that they awarded to definitely deserved it. I'm trying to decide whether there's someone else I think deserved it more, but at a glance, I am A-okay with these 4.
All right, easy, Chairez. Easy, no brainer.
Boom. That's one of them.
Manuel Torres, no brainer.
Yes, correct.
The rest of them are gonna be a little tougher because there's a couple that stand out.
There's another super obvious one.
David Martinez.
That is one of them, and that's not even the one I was saying was obvious.
And go to you.
Yep.
Those are clean sweep them?
Yep.
I'm cool with those. I am a little surprised the main event didn't get any. Oh yeah, actual casual said Boris deserved a bonus. Yeah, the problem is when you get a decision when you have that many
performance of the night is really finish of the night.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
When you think of most unlikely performance, then unsung hero, Chairez kind of got it. But yeah. Let's go to the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and Bears is a stock market reference. You want to be on the Bulls list. You don't want the Bears list. We do it hockey style 3-2-1. Ben, let's do Bulls.
Okay.
You mind if I go first?
Go for it.
Actually, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Bulls. I'm gonna throw out Lupi Godinez. Like the crowd really embraces her. Like just during fight week, during the media events, in the arena, she was getting some of the loudest cheers, the loudest chants. They love her, and it's not like she's even riveting appointment viewing. Like at her best, she's kind of a rinse and repeat wrestler. If she can maintain this level of popularity while actually fighting to her best benefit, go do that. So good work for her. Ateba Gauthier. Yeah, I specifically singled this out as a fight where he's going to knock the guy out in the first round. We're not going to learn anything about either fighter. But as you pointed out, you still got to go out and hit the fat pitch that someone hung out over the plate. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do when you're a minus 500 favorite. That's what you're supposed to do if you're a future contender fighting a guy that doesn't belong in the promotion. And last one I'll throw out there, Manuel Torres. He had a nice big spotlight moment. There are plenty of other fights on this card that could have been the co-main event. They made him the co-main event, and he rewarded the UFC for its decision. I mean, they put this fight second from the top, not only because of the stature of the fighters, but because of the likelihood it was going to be a banger. And for under 2 minutes, it was. So Manuel Torres.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why I had you go first. A lot of times I'll have you go first because I have a big list and I'll just cross out ones that you already said. Man, I love that non-profit and actual casual is trying to set up a double date with Gaudier and Lupi Gaudier. Good luck to you guys. I'm root for you guys. I go the main event. I'll go Brandon Moreno. I mean, the guys won, after he lost to Brandon Royval, he was kind of really, a low point of his second run in the UFC. Now he's got back-to-back wins. He looked good in main events, looked really good in both of them, kind of back in the title picture contention. And he broke the curse of losing in Mexico. So good night for Brandon Moreno. My number two, I know people are dogging his performance. I think people are crazy. I'm going to go with Raul Rosas Jr. The guy is 20 years old. He now has 5 wins in the UFC. He's won 4 fights in a row. To me, his stock is really going through the roof. And my number one is not a fighter who fought on this card, but a family member of a fighter. I'm going to go with Edgar Chairez's grandfather. Chairez told the story where he had to have surgery. His grandfather sold his truck to help pay for Chairez's surgery. That is, and he's recently passed away, so R.I.P. But what a wonderful thing to do for somebody. So putting your grandson before your own well-being and your own livelihood. So Edgar Chairez's grandfather, memory of him, I think that one stars number 1 on my list. Let's go Bears. These are the ones who did not have a good night. Same thing we do at hockey style 3-2-1. I'm gonna go. I shouldn't go with the haters that dogged us a week ago. Who none of them saying how well we did tonight. But I'm gonna go with Mike Beltran. I mean, terrible stoppage. People were hating on him. His stock went down. My number 2. I'm gonna go Steve Erceg. I mean, 3 fights in a row. He still looked good, but obviously 3 fights in a row. He has to win his next fight. I mean, he's in desperate. I mean, his back against the wall. I mean, he's stuck in the wall right now. He's got to do something. And my number one, it's going to be Lazy Boy. I mean, this guy came in like a star. He was the next big thing in Mexico. Missed weight in his hometown. Big favorite. Got destroyed. Got almost stopped a couple of times. People call him a fraud. I mean, his stock went way down. So give me Lazy Boy as my number one bear. Ben, do you have any?
I mean, I agree with all yours. I'll throw out Christian Rodriguez again. Super competitive fight. I actually scored it for him, but just considering he came into this fight favored to win and lost, and again gave maybe a glimpse into his ceiling at 145 pounds. I call that a stock down moment for him. And then, yeah, I'll throw out Steve Erceg. On the one hand, I did say that this is a fight where nobody lost too much, but however you slice it, he's lost 3 in a row now, and we were discussing big steps down for him in competition. Yeah, like I feel as though he fought his best fight and it wasn't enough, and that's a rough look.
Ben, let's time to move on. We keep it bad news again. How about the cut list, Ben? So the way the cut list works, if both me and Ben have a fighter's name on the cut list, we give the UFC permission to get rid of them. Ben, I think I have the biggest cut list I've ever had. I have 8 people for the cut list.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Whoa.
I have at least 6, and I'm open to expanding that list.
So we are
since my list is shorter, do you want me to start calling names? And
sure, we're doing our spring cleaning. Go ahead, man. What do you have?
Austin Hubbard. He's lost 3 of 4.
Yeah, he could have won this one, but you got to win some.
He's been in the UFC twice. This is his second time. He's 1-3 since being back. That probably means the end of a contract. So it's more like a not re-signed type thing. But okay, Austin Hubbard.
Yep. See you later.
Gabriel Miranda has also lost 3 of his last 4 while fighting once per year.
Gone.
And his one win was over Shane Young, who is already gone as well. So he basically has no wins over anybody that's on UFC roster. Doesn't look like he belongs. Hate to do it. Vince Pichel. If he wants to keep fighting, he will have to complete his bingo card somewhere else. He's lost 3 in a row. He's 42.
We should have got him in here to settle the debate about the pancakes and the waffles. He'll be at Denny's a lot. He's at his age. So yeah, he's gone on my list. Who else you got?
Jose Medina.
Obviously.
He lost on the Contender Series, and he's lost twice in the UFC, and this time he got dusted.
All right. That's 4. You got 2 more for me.
Simon Oliveira.
Gone.
He's 0-3 since winning on the Contender Series, and he's fought 3 times in 5 years, 3 times in 4 years, something like that.
Yeah. Give me another one.
Vincent Morales. Lost on the Contender Series, 3-8 in the UFC, 0-3 since being back. And I feel bad about this one because it's not a situation where he's getting just blown out of his sneakers every time. He's competitive most of the time. He looks like he belongs in the UFC, but at some point you are what your record says you are. And his record says he's 3-8 in the UFC. Vince Morales.
All right. So you saved 2 people's jobs.
Did I not list CJ Vergara?
You did not list CJ, so that's your 7th person.
CJ Vergara. It's not a Texas homer thing. Like Vergara was definitely on my list.
All right, so there's 7 that we have agreed on. We cut. That's the biggest cut. The one person you're saving, I think I can convince you it's time to cut. This person did not have a good night. They are the longest running person in the building tonight with the UFC. But I didn't say fighter. It is time to get rid of Bruce Buffer. Move on, cut him. He is not the best guy at his job in your company. Time to let go of Bruce Buffer. He is checked out. Like, time to retire, dude. You had a good run. Hit the beach. Buy a house in Hawaii or something. It's time, Bruce Buffer, to take it up.
100% I'm board with you. And you know what? It's almost insulting when you have Joe Martinez, who pronounces Spanish names with incredible style and verve, and you replace him with Buffer, who treats foreign names like he's committing war crimes against them. How can you have done this job for 30 years and like he sounds like he's reading Spanish off a page for the first time ever, like he's an 8th grader in Spanish 1. Like, it's incredible, like how bad it is.
I didn't talk shit because I do the same thing. So, but if I was the announcer for the UFC, I'd be telling myself to be cut. So, I'd get rid of Bruce Buffer. So, Ben, what was your grade for the card?
Give it a B.
Yeah,
like, it wasn't the highest level stuff, but there were several good fights. There were a couple of fantastic finishes, and just the whole thing felt pretty fun. Like, and again, this same card in the Apex, C. It is a full letter grade difference at least.
Totally agree. It made like, I just think like Chairez, like how crazy the crowd was going. If that was in the Apex, I would be like, oh, nice win by him. It just you need a crowd.
Oh, Chairez like breaking down in tears in an empty Apex would have just been depressing.
Yeah, exactly. I think look at the Wyatt Hendricks moment against Gable Stevenson. Imagine that happened in a high school gymnasium instead of, in Philadelphia with a sold out crowd, the president. Like, the crowd matters. So, I know, shit take. Bruce Buffer's the man because he sucks at one thing, because you feel nostalgic about him saying things like big deal. Like, Don King used to be good for boxing. Time to move on. It is what it is. Like, you run its course. Anyways, but hey, we agree to disagree. Who was your listener of the night, Ben?
Oh, you know what? Sometimes you win Rookie of the Year and MVP at the same time. I like how Actual Casual just kind of popped up halfway through the show and just started dropping good stuff. So he gets it for me, but Antoine Willis in the discussion as well. Nonprofit 87 definitely in the discussion. And if you're listening right now and you're like, what about me? You're probably one of the people that I've told you're not allowed to win anymore. Like, I'm in Report, Marcus Mustard, Ben Cooley. You guys are in. You're not allowed to win anymore. Ninja Kitty, Bobby Boucher.
Yeah, there's a couple of really good ones. MMA Clips is one I was looking at, but I'm going to go Nonprofit 87. He went hard all the way through, had me laughing a couple of times, really good take. So Nonprofit 87 is my listener. So before we go, I thank everybody for their time. I'm going to throw a very special, I'm going to sell something to you guys. So my oldest daughter's in 9th grade, and she wrote a novel. And it is for sale on Amazon. It's got published. It's called Bloodstained Legacy by L.J. Schillen. You got to put that all in because it's going to be hard to find. But, guys, if you've ever made some bets and won some money due to the show, go buy that book. It's an incredible book. I started reading it. It's like a fantasy book. It's like vampires and shit. And if you don't read, buy it for somebody else and give it to them, but do buy the book. So that's what I asked you guys to do. But we'll be back next week. UFC Emmett versus Murphy. We'll be breaking down that one. So our preview will be out early next week, and we'll be back a week from now recapping all that. He is Ben. I am Keith. Ben, say something witty as we leave.
I just bought the book.
That's
my witty take.
That's why you're the man, Ben. So Ben is the man. Thank you so much. And all you guys, I'll put the link in the chat afterwards to buy our book. So anyways, thank you guys so much, guys. And we'll see you guys next week.